So a little bit of breaking news for everybody. I thought this was pretty interesting and hilarious. But Donald Trump has agreed to do a Joe Rogan moderated presidential debate. So Tim Kennedy, who was just on Joe Rogan's show, said the following. On my podcast with Joe Rogan, he offered to moderate a debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. It would be 4 hours with no live audience. Just the two candidates, cameras, and their vision of how to move this country forward. Who wants this? Hashtag debates, hashtag election 2020. Donald Trump responded, I do. So Donald Trump is down for a Joe Rogan moderated debate. And as I talk to you guys right now, Joe Rogan is trending over this. And Joe Rogan, you know, he actually seemed like he liked the idea in the podcast with Tim Kennedy. He said he would, quote, 100% be down to do it. Is it something that would actually happen? Is there even a small chance it would happen? I'll put it at 10%. I'll put it at a 10% chance it happens because a lot of people might not know the backstory of this, but Joe has spoken about it publicly within the past few months or so. After Bernie Sanders went on Joe Rogan's podcast and it blew up and, you know, you read the comments and there's a lot of people who are like, hey, I thought Bernie was crazy. I actually love him and I'm going to vote for him. All the other Democratic candidates were like, oh, I want positive attention. I want to go viral. I want people to like me. And so they all reached out to Joe Rogan basically asking him like, can I come on your podcast? Now they deny it, but he already spoke about it publicly and he has evidence of it. So, I mean, there's no reason to release the evidence because who really cares? But, you know, Amy Klobuchar, Mayor Pete, Joe Biden, all of these characters wanted to get on Joe Rogan's podcast and he basically said no because he's not interested in them. He was interested in 3 candidates, Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard, and Bernie Sanders. He found those 3 the most interesting. And so we talked to him. Everybody else can kick rocks. So now I get the sense, and I'm just guessing here, but I get the sense that with Trump agreeing to something like this, I feel like the Biden people might view the forum overall as like more pro-Trump, more leaning in Trump's direction. Fair or unfair, I think that's how they would view it. And they would also think like, you just said no in the primary for a one-on-one podcast. So now I'm supposed to go in there to have a debate with you as the moderator. So I get the sense that the Biden people would shy away and the Biden people wouldn't want to do it. But that would be a fascinating podcast. I think it would break all records. And honestly, I know for a fact Joe Rogan would ask way better questions than the idiots in mainstream media. Way better. You know, they ask the stuff that they think they're supposed to ask, and they all have, you know, it's biased from a pro-establishment perspective, and it's either that or they try to do the stupid gotcha questions about dumb stuff. You know, Joe would only ask questions that he's interested in the answers to, and a lot of that would be around policy, and a lot of that might be around other stuff, but I think it would all be interesting and relevant and pertinent, and I would love to see it. I would love to see it, but I highly doubt it would actually happen. Even though the president of the United States is down, I do think the Biden team is going to pump their brakes and say no, and I really do think that they would view Joe's podcast as more biased in a pro-Trump direction. But honestly, I don't even think that's fair because, you know, you watch Joe's podcasts for the past 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and you learn very quickly he's all over the place with this stuff. Like, he'll go after all the politicians. He'll also give a lot of them credit, you know? He likes Tulsi, he likes Yang, he likes Bernie. He's both gone after and made defenses of both Trump and Biden, respectively, you know, depending on what the news of the day is. That's just the kind of person that he is. As Michael Brooks used to say, Joe Rogan represents kind of like an actual centrist. Like, sort of like an apolitical person who still kind of follows politics and is interested, but doesn't go too deep on political theory or the underlying philosophies. He's kind of like your average Joe, no pun intended. and one thing about him that I've realized all along is that he's incredibly curious. Like, he's always curious about stuff in a way, honestly, in a way that's almost unique. It's almost like a childlike curiosity that has lasted his entire life. And I think that leads to him having interesting podcasts and interesting conversations and making interesting points because, you know, very few people would do the deep dives on the various topics that he likes to do deep dives on. But it is kind of funny too, and I'm sure if you catch him in a moment of honesty, he would admit this, that like you got this podcast where, you know, Joey Diaz might be talking about eating a hooker's ass or Duncan Trussell might talk about, you know, doing ayahuasca with a shaman in the middle of the jungle or, you know, whatever, fill in the blank. Joey Diaz talking about robbing somebody or kidnapping somebody when he's younger. It's like all that stuff can happen, but also the president of the United States is like, I'd be down for a podcast. That'd be interesting to me. So I think he's got a very unique platform, and I would love to see this. I hope the Biden people accept, but I highly, highly doubt that they will.